All right, everybody, thank you for joining me today here at Northwoods Collectors, and today we are going into the next part of our segment, number 2 on the list, following Dan at Catch 'em All Collectibles. Today we have Mason from Cardinal Gaming joining us here today to talk about what it takes to be a full-time Pokemon LGS or LCS owner. So Mason, would you like to do an introduction of yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Andy. I appreciate you having me on. It's awesome. Um, I appreciate of all the 3,000 LGSs in the country, you chose me. Makes me feel special. Thank you. I am Mason. I am in Louisville, Kentucky. I have 2 stores. I just opened my second store. Total of 7 years in operation. And it's do all card games. I do video games as well, tabletop games, wargaming games like 40K and D&D and things like that. Just kind of like an all around just like game store, and then a little bit of nerdy stuff in that as well, with like manga, anime, that kind of stuff. So just like a good, just like pop culture-ish, I guess, store, but definitely the core of it is a game store and a tournament store for TCGs and things. So yeah, it's been fun. That's what that's it. That's me. That's what I've built.
Living the dream, right, Mason? One day at a time.
Definitely having a good time for sure. Mm-hmm. It's not always easy, but no. We'll get into it, I'm sure. These questions will reveal a little bit more about that.
Yeah, definitely. We'll probably cover that coming up ahead, and all the things that happen inside of any kind of business when you operate and own. So definitely something we'll be talking about along the way. I'm not going to do an introduction this time. I've done it on the last video. And then, of course, there's my intro video that I will link down in the description. Of course, Mason's information will be listed in the description below. For anybody that wants to go check out his channel and, visit Mason on his own YouTube channel, definitely.
I guess I should say that I also have a YouTube channel that I have like 20,000 subscribers. And I talk a lot about the hobby and Pokemon specifically, but other things about running a game store as well. So, and one of my favorite series that I do is called Card Shop Candids, where I talk about kind of like misnomers, or just why things are how they are, and how stores, particularly card stores or game stores, operate and make decisions and explain things like allocations for distribution things, how to buy in singles, what kind of margins you should expect, things like that. So I love that series. I love doing that series. So that's kind of my my base for my YouTube stuff, besides just talking and shilling Pokemon, I guess, is another aspect of it. But
and we'll link that down below so you can get a hold of Mason's channel, be able to find these videos. Definitely, if you are interested in the LGS, LCS path in your Pokemon journey or in your TCG journey, Mason can give you some really good insights. I know I've seen a lot of his videos on his channel, which are very good information if you're trying to make these decisions and look at it. So we'll definitely, yes, I have watched them, Mason.
I know you have. I guarantee it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I do want to get the link to the people that come into this. This is the point of these videos, is to give them a direction, a way to go, something where they can get some really good, valuable information to help make decisions, and you definitely have that available on your YouTube channel also to broaden that even more. The purpose of these interviews, of course, is to just sit down and have a discussion with all the little niche markets in the Pokemon TCG, and also just TCGs in general, so you can get an idea that if you want to jump into investing, collecting, business, or any of the other aspects that come along with these TCGs, you maybe could get an idea or a perspective of this from different people and different opportunities that are available. And thus, these interviews will help you kind of guide your path through that as you become a beginner in Pokemon or a beginner in TCGs, and help you along a little bit easier on that journey. So from now on, we're going to go ahead and start on the questions part of this. I got a total of 11 questions down for you here, Mason. We've added a couple of them from Dan's interview, and then of course we've got a couple that we've brought up in between there also. So I'll just get right down to it. First question of the night is, what do you believe, or what did you do before you became a full-time store owner?
Yeah, kind of a weird mixed past. Did a lot of different things. My first job was giving out parking tickets. That was fun. I did that when I lived in California for most of my early life. So, it was 108. I was walking on this asphalt in the middle of the summer, giving out parking tickets. Not a great environment. Not a lot of people really happy to see you, but that definitely learned some things. A little about heated public interactions. So that was nice. That was a little experience that I didn't have before that. Then after I went to college and then came back, I moved with my wife here to Kentucky, and I worked in a hotel for a little while. I did security, and then they liked me so much they hired me on as the night manager. So I did overnight at the hotel, which is also another environment where I got to talk to angry people most of the time that were upset at the middle of the night and had something going on and wrong. So great, doing good so far. Public interactions. So I thought, this is fun, but let's go get yelled at some more. And I took up a job and went to work at the airport with TSA. Everybody loves the TSA. This is great. My work
plenty of
history
customer
is,
service, plenty of customer service experience.
Yes, I did that for 7 years. It was actually a very enjoyable job, and it was really pretty easygoing and a nice cushy federal job. So can't complain too much about that. But I was doing that, and then when I was transitioning to doing and going into the store and starting the store and getting the business really rolling, I was doing that. I'd go work at the airport during the day, and then in the afternoon and into the evenings, I'd work another full day at starting the store and get the business up off the ground. So worked a good, 14, 16, 18-hour days there for a while, just grinding and trying to get this business going. And then I actually left there early this year. Man, it's already been almost half a year. Geez. Since I left the airport. So now I'm actually doing this full time for real, which is weird to say. I had a second store and I was still working a second job. So I was working there part-time for 3 years now. So wasn't doing all of that, but obviously still had a little side hustle. I guess it kind of flipped. We flipped to where the business became the real job, and then the airport became just something to supplement. So that's my work history. That's what I've done. Considerably less people yelling at me in this job, so that's nice. That's an upgrade for sure. But yeah, that's kind of my background. Kind of a weird thing. I did not ever expect to open up a business, but the opportunity was there, and I'm glad I did. It's been definitely a different type of business. Had I known I was going to start a business, probably would have actually went to school and focused a little bit more on math. That'd been nice, but yeah, not exactly a traditional path, but we got here, so here we are.
That's awesome. All the different customer service backgrounds you have. I don't think anybody could really say anything to you, really get you underneath your skin anymore, Mason.
It's probably not even, you couldn't say anything. You couldn't even come up with something that I probably haven't heard yet. So between all those things, so yeah.
Oh, I bet there are probably no problems there. Yeah. With what you've been through.
So it's pretty chill with this job now. So.
Yeah, I suppose you just get a couple people mad at pricing or something like that. Then that's about it. Moving on to the next one, which is going to be, of course, a continuation of this pretty much, which is what progressions did you do before opening your store? So in the Pokemon or in TCGs, what progressions did you do before opening?
Yeah, I mean, I think my background as far as like buying and selling TCGs, I mean, that's pretty much, I think, like most 30-somethings out there that have, started a business or even in the past couple of years, maybe got interested back into it again. Grew up with it, had it as a kid, had my old collection from when I was a kid. When I got married, I inherited 2 kids who wanted to, look at my collection, and we ended up actually playing and going to playing Pokemon, and then went to the actual national tournament up in Indianapolis when it was still in Indianapolis. And we went there one year and had a lot of fun playing Pokemon for a couple of years. And then, after the fact, they move on to something else and, just interested in something different. And, I'm stuck here with my old collection and then all the stuff we bought and for these decks. And I'm like, okay, what do I do? How do I get rid of these things? Like, how do I try to get some of my money back?
Yeah.
So, I looked up my old cards, like, okay, they have decent value still, they're in decent shape. And then, obviously the playable stuff I learned, okay, this is still good. This is not anymore because it's got overpowered and things like that. So I had some working knowledge about modern, and then growing up with it, I had a little bit of knowledge of the base set and WotC stuff. So I had a pretty okay knowledge base. And then I went to eBay and started selling things on eBay, and like as things started moving, I'm like, man, I could, if I had more cards, this would be really easy just to kind of just take a couple pictures and put up on eBay and just wait until it sells. Like, that's easy. Anybody can do that. And then, as I went out and I bought collections from people, and good old Craigslist, where I was buying, looking back, I bought insane collections, just beautiful cards. I mean, I bought first edition, like Neo sets, complete decked out for $80, like insane, like things that would have been insane now, just insane deals. Back then, when people, just really just trying to get rid of the stuff, they didn't know that the values weren't what they are now, especially. But looking back now, even me selling that, Neo sets, it'd be insane now. But at the time, it was still good money, and I was doing okay, getting good margins for it. So I was doing that for a while, just on the side, and then I got with my business partner Zach, and he does a lot of the video game stuff, and he repairs things, and he's really good at fixing things up. So he just put out a post one day and said, hey, who was interested in starting a store? And we started, and we met up somewhere, and it started off with 5 guys, and then kept talking back and forth and about, okay, who's really serious, who's bringing what to the table and things like that. And we went down to 3 guys, and then it was just us, me and him. I was like, okay, well, we can do it. Let's go. What more do we need? You got video games and Magic. He did Magic as well. And then I had Pokemon and a video game knowledge as well. So we just got a little office space and then just started growing our business from there. Doing eBay, and like I said, just afternoon hours, just doing the best we can to put things on eBay and buy collections locally and source locally, and then selling them online and selling, locally as well if we could. But most of the time is directly, almost exclusively eBay at that time, when we were just trying to sell stuff like that. So it was definitely humble beginnings. I remember our office space was 450 square feet to start off with, and we were trying to warehouse and things like that out of that too. So we had the old plastic tables and tried to make like a little seating area, and then in the back just had mountains of things, just insane amounts of things just piled up everywhere. So it was very hectic, but very fun. And you're trying to, you look at it now and you think back, like, man, my rent's $600 a month. How am I gonna make $600? And then now it's like, okay, my bills have considerably more zeros after that now. So, but back then, starting out, it's kind of funny to look back and kind of see. And then just after that, as we got more established and kept the engine turning and things turning like that, we got a little space, moved up to 700 square feet, got some glass cases, put them in there, and had our little setup in there, and just absolutely just hole in the wall, just the smallest, dinkiest store. But especially at that time, this was probably 2000. It had to have been 2000 and probably 2012, around that time. Right. So and probably between 2012 and 14, right when retro games were like really, really booming, really good. It was really starting to take off, and people were really getting interested in that stuff. So a little bit of luck there. So that was nice. We're just super liquid, super easy to move. Just, you got anything good on eBay, days it would take to sell something good, if you priced it appropriately. And that was good for us because we definitely needed to turn and burn through some things. We didn't start out with a ton of stuff. So just the stuff that Zach had and what I had out of my collections that I was still working through. So that's what we started with. So worked our way up, and then if you want me to continue, Andy, I don't know if you want me to keep on going to just to the current day, if you want. That's how it kind of started.
Well, that could be part of the next question here, which is going to be, what was the final deciding factor that made you open your first store?
Yeah. So, like I said, having an online presence and things like that, definitely for a selling aspect, that's what you really need to get started. And any sort of cash flow, just moving, that's what you got to do. And online is by far the easiest way to do it. You absolutely have to you know,
Yeah.
sell things, and then sourcing is kind of secondary at first, because you kind of start with plenty of stuff and then you kind of process through it, and then hopefully you source through some stuff and buy collections, things like that. And at the time, you could just hop on Craigslist, Facebook, anything, and just say, hey, I'm buying stuff, whatever margins you want to throw out, and people would come and bring you stuff. Opening the store was really when sourcing became an issue, or at least sourcing buffs up your margins and makes it really a more stable business of just, having 50% into something and then buying a collection of something for 50%, and then you use that value to buy the other things that you already had. You're just compounding your margins at that point. And that's the kind of stuff that really accelerates your growth and your potential to do more. So that's what kicked off us needing an actual storefront for people to come in. And then if they wanted to bring stuff to us, trade up into something else, or trade for other things, or trade cards, things like that. So that's what really kicked off opening a store. And then, if we wanted to be serious about TCGs, we needed to have a storefront for, like, Wizards of the Coast requires you, and Pokemon requires you to have a storefront to do certain things, like run pre-releases and things like that. Wizards of the Coast, you have to have a storefront of some kind. So that's also out of necessity that we had to have a storefront. And they did require play space, and we could definitely throw up some, again, plastic tables in the middle of the glass cases, and we could definitely sit 8 people if we really wanted to. But yeah, that's how we just kind of got around and got with the organized play programs and the Wizards Play Network for Magic. And that really helps you when you're able to do pre-releases and get things early, and get a little Pokemon in particular, you get pre-release kits, and then has stuff for exponentially cheaper than you can if you just bought things straight out. So that really helped out a lot, as having an actual storefront. So definitely, if that's what way you're progressing, online is great. It's a great way to get started. But yeah, that's the ultimate turning point, is when you're ready to start becoming serious and running events and getting that sealed product and trying to do more with that kind of stuff. So and then talking about opening the second store, man, flash forward 3 years from that aspect and grinding. We got to the point, especially when the boom was happening, we'd always wanted to open up a second location. That was a thing that we were heading towards. Okay. But we thought about maybe going just to a larger space, or opening up a larger store, or maybe like a more event focused. And then when the pandemic happened and all that stuff, restrictions started locking down, that kind of stuff. Quickly, we realized that was not a good idea, especially at that time. So, it makes more sense to make a second store, keep them small. If you want to run tournaments, maybe not 100-person tournaments anymore, but you could definitely run, 30-person tournaments and have that be reasonable, and still be able to service different aspects of the community and different demographics that maybe won't make the drive, or, things like that. It's definitely spread your influence out a little bit more, so you can get more market share and get more people in the door that wouldn't otherwise. So that's the major thing with having multiple locations is, you either have to make a destination store, which is just one big, has everything, is really, really awesome. Or you do like, I don't want to say the GameStop model, but basically, you divide your stuff and conquer that way by putting, footholds all around your area, or, state, or whatever you want to declare, however big your scope is. But that's 2 ways to go about it: is you make one big awesome store, or you make, still pretty awesome, but smaller stores in different areas. So there's 2 different ways to go about it. When we went back and forth a lot, but definitely the pandemic kind of, and all the things that went with that, definitely cemented us in the thought that, okay, smaller is better, and people not having to travel as far is better. So let's go with that route instead of a big, great, fantastic store. So that was the decision behind the second store, as opposed to just building on top of what we already had.
Yeah, and I mean, I can relate to that too, with the whole pandemic thing. Even not necessarily TCG, but as a business itself, we used to have one large location. Even for our HVAC business or mechanical business, it was all out of one location. And after the pandemic, you realize that, okay, this building's too big. You know, counting requirements didn't allow us to have as many people in the building, even for our own employees. And what we realized is that it's better to buy smaller buildings. So what we did is start creating satellite shops even off of our business. It's to have our central, big hub, but now we've got smaller businesses serving different communities where we have a presence available to them. So that like you were talking about, you serve a broader market because you have more influence in an area where you have a little store. It may not be you might not, like you said, have premier stores, but you still have a great reputation, a good store right here that's a third the size. You still get just as much business sometimes with doing that because people recognize the name, they see the name, and then of course they visit you more often because of that fact, and it actually increases your viewability.
Right.
And it's huge when you're selling stuff.
Yeah, and that's two different trains of thoughts. If you want to keep at least we found a more community-based or more neighborhood type of environment where this is your store, this is where you come to, this is where we buy games at, or wherever we go to play. Again, multiple locations helps with that, as opposed to one big giant location where, okay, if I'm going to go to this and play in this at the store, I have to travel to that, which again, it works. It's something that a lot of stores do, but it's kind of, what kind of atmosphere do you want to provide? You want to provide a more warm and an opening and smaller kind of environment, or do you want to have this big kind of awesome premier kind of shape, store that the best go to play in potentially? And then you kind of have to pick your battles and know your market a little bit. You may have, like we have a store that is I think that they're 12,000 square feet, insanely large store. They took over an Office Depot or something, and and have a big store out of that. Like, sit a lot of people. It's a really big, loud, noisy, stinky store, and a lot of people don't like that. If you're playing D&D, or if you want to play just Commander or something like that during your game, and it's a lot more friendly and casual that way. So again, you gotta know your market, know what your customers want, and kind of fill the gaps and niche to what is not currently being filled, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing is the best thing you can do is work with your community for what works best for that community, and just continue to build on that to be successful.
Definitely.
Yeah. So next two questions I have are kind of, the point of them is to kind of show, what you get out of your business, amount of hours you put in versus what you get out. And so the first question I have is estimate hours worked to income per month in TCGs before opening your store. So how many hours did you work to potentially the amount that you got back out of that?
Yeah, I actually had to like sit down and do the math, because I didn't know this. I had to think about it. So I'm somewhat prepared to answer this. Okay. When we first opened the store, I'm pretty comfortable to say that we did not make an income per hour positively. And sometimes that's sometimes how it is when you get first started.
Yep.
You have to expect there to not be any profitability for a little while, and you got to work really hard to get that to flip. And just expect that even with our second location, I'm paying twice the rent for a third of the space. It's in a better part of town. It's a good part of town, but this location is not making money currently. It's not. If we're breaking even, I'd be surprised. But every weekend, there's more and more people. There's more and more families coming out. As people get familiar with you and you get your presence built up, you get more entrenched, and people come to rely on you. Somebody giving you a chance and then coming back week after week. That's the type of business that you want. That's the type of people that is the bread and butter and the real basis, the customer base for LGSs. It's not the people that stop in and buy a game and never come back. You got to have repeat customers, your group of players that come in every week, or people that come in and, when they get done with a game, they bring it to you and trade it up and then trade into something else, that kind of stuff. You really want to focus on customer service wise and getting people to think of you first above everybody else. And not just because, well, you can be because you have the best stuff and you know, you have a variety of stuff that they need and they want, and it's cool to just walk in and look around. But the customer aspect of it, the customer service aspect of it, you know, going out on a limb, trying to find something that somebody's looking for, stuff like that. That definitely, you know, you'll make customers for life that way if you go out of the way and kind of build that. But back to your actual question. When we first started, I'll tell you right now, I was not taking any income from this business for the first 2 years. And then I started taking salary because we're listed as a corporation. So we can treat us like employees, and we are operators of the business. So we can get salaries, and that's, you know, it's a lot easier that way on the papers, and makes more sense to do it that way as we're running the business as opposed to just, you know, paying into the business and making the business work and hiring a manager or whatever. So there's tax benefits to that, obviously. So that's, you know, I started getting a little bit of salary. I mean, I don't know if you want me personally or just like the business as a whole making per hour.
I guess it would probably be the business for you, for how many hours you put in. You know, when you were, I know for when you started, you weren't going full time. Obviously, you were doing a lot of it.
Yeah.
You know, partially. So, you know, however many hours you were working, what were you seeing for throughput? I mean, if you were working an hour, I was making roughly, you know, 50 cents. If I was working 5 hours, I was making, you know, something like
that. Sounds better. That sounds probably a lot more like it than
yeah, I know.
Than man, it's so hard because the business is so streaky. You know, a set releases, you're doing great that 2 weeks, and then you know, you hit a dry spell or pandemics happen or something like that. You know, and singles are down, or the price for bulk implodes on itself and gets destroyed, and you lose tens of thousands of dollars in that. Never mind. That's a personal. We'll talk about that later. It's, you're not making minimum wage. I know that much. Definitely not. Not for a while. And especially if you are wanting to grow, you know, for a long time, you make what you need just to live, and hoping that one day it'll get you to being able to provide for you. And you know, but you're going to sacrifice now and invest back into the business as opposed to, you know, taking your salary. I need 60,000 a year, and that's what I need. I got to have that. You know, when you're an owner operator, you and the business are much more intimately linked than just collecting a paycheck. Yes, so that's just the nature of the beast. So hard to answer this question. I mean, it's a difficult one. It's not fair. It's not a fair question. If you think you're gonna, you know, especially opening a store is just so much more expensive than just operating alone or online.
I knew this would be difficult. That's why I wanted to give it ahead of time.
I know. And I did the math. I was like, I don't even know what this is. This doesn't even look right because these are negative numbers. but yeah, it's you know, you don't start a store to get rich. That's for sure. No. And if you plan to, it's going to take a while. Yeah, that's any business. You know, that's just any business in general. But game stores, in particular, are really rough. They really are. Again, your cash flow is really streaky. There's a lot of down times, good times, bad times. You know, sideways times. It's very unpredictable, and you have to make these little micro adjustments everywhere, all the time, to make sure you are running as optimal as possible. It's not going to be optimal, but it's going to be. I mean, we're not going to be hemorrhaging money, hopefully, but yeah, it's hard. It's really not an easy thing to do, and if you don't, like I said, you could probably work a desk job or wherever you probably hate it, and it's going to be awful, but it's going to pay the bills. This you'll probably enjoy it, but you never know. It could be you're kind of at the mercy of all the companies and Pokemon and their rules and their regulations, and them making smart decisions on their end, so you can make smart decisions. It can be rough.
And that's why I kind of like talking to you about this, is because I'm an owner operator with my father who started the business. Now my brother and I own or operate it, and it's like, like you said, I got a base salary. Now that's what we make. Mm-hmm. But the problem is, even in my business, my employees take home more money than I do.
Sure. Absolutely.
I honestly, my paycheck, my employees make probably about $20,000 to $30,000 a year more than what I do.
Yeah.
Granted, I get some other benefits for owning the business, but you're probably the same way. A lot of your employees, sometimes as they become managers, as they become higher up, they end up taking home more than you, just because I make this, I can balance this into my budget. I know that me and my brother can make this year in, year out. And I'm going to work some days at 70, or some weeks at 70 hours. Other weeks, I'm going to be working. Maybe I might get away with a 30-hour week someplace, just because I just said I
was going to say that too.
Quiet.
I was going to say that too. You can go work for somebody and work your 9 to 5 and be home every day and, off every weekend, and it's going to be great. You can't do that with this. I was opening the new set, Lost Origin. I was just opening boxes for them. I expected to do that for about an hour. I was here for 3 hours past close time. And I worked a 10-hour day that day. So that was 13 hours I worked.
13 hours.
Out of the house for 15 hours. I came back early because I had more boxes to open for somebody, because I flaked out on them and left before, I basically 3 hours in, I was like, I gotta go home, guys. Sorry.
I gotta go.
I came back in, I opened 2 more boxes for an hour off the clock before that, and worked another 10-hour day. And it's just, that's the way it is. That's what we're doing.
And that's what you do if you're a business owner. I mean, that's you sacrifice now. But like you said, you're hoping then in the long run that the investment pays off to where you could finally, 20 years down the road, maybe take it a little bit easier and get away with some of this stuff.
Yeah, you do have a non-traditional aspect of it where you have a little more freedom, but I say that, but then you don't. You don't. You don't work regular hours. You don't work a 9 to 5. You don't work. You don't have weekends off. Especially in this business. If you want to have weekends off, don't open a game store. Like, what do you do?
Don't open.
I make more on my 2 days weekends than I do the rest of the week. That's just the way it is. You absolutely have to be there during the week or during the weekends. Even as a business owner, you should, because that's when all the action's happening. That's when you're making the most money.
And that's when your presence is most noticed, is when you're there with all the people coming in. I mean, that's how I know the owners of the local game shops by me. They're there from Saturday and Sunday every weekend. I can talk to them. I can have discussions with them. They recognize me. I recognize them. And there's that rapport between me and the owners that, if they weren't there on a weekend, I can't make it there on non-weekends.
Right.
I have to go Saturday, Sunday, and you can't get that without, just because we work too.
Yeah.
You don't
and then
have
you get the perception like, oh man, these guys are never here. What are they doing? Like, what? How do you own a game store and you're never here? Like, that's that's a perception that a lot of people get, for sure. Yeah.
Yep. So, like I said, you just answered both questions there. I mean, realistically, you're to what you make now for amount of hours you work, and so. Yeah, I mean, you pretty much killed 2 birds with 1 stone with that one.
Well, sometimes you get lucky like that, but
it's fallen in.
Just falls into place.
So this is going to be probably the next question. That will probably roll into this fairly well. It's not on the written questions, but I just talked to you beforehand. Is how much money do you think in today's market would be a good relative number to be able to start an LGS successfully?
Yes. We were talking about this before you started recording, and there's 2 ways I want to go about answering this question.
Okay.
If you started like me and my business partner did, you could start with a relatively modest amount and work your way up to having a store. It's going to take a while. It's going to be a grind. It's going to be uncomfortable, and it's going to be not your full-time gig. To have this be like your full-time job, jumping in, I got a store, I built out my store, I'm going to stock it with everything, I'm going to have money on hand for, the 6 months where I'm going to be hemorrhaging money at first when people, not coming in, or buying things and building up your inventory more. I think you could probably swing it, I'd say 120,000 if you wanted to have a little modest little shop and be okay for the first 6 months without having to worry about making any quick money. Inventory wise, it'd be pretty modest. And again, you got to have cash on hand. You're basically a nerd pawn shop, so you have to have, what if somebody walks in with a $10,000 collection? You don't want to have that walk out the door. You got to have that money. You have to be able to get it somehow. So, you want to have it on hand and available for you. So, 120. If you wanted to just, I'm going to quit my job, I'm going to start this business, maybe hire a part-timer, a couple part-timers maybe, and start a little inventory, a little, maybe, let's say 1,200 square foot, 1,500 square foot shop in a not great area. Yeah, 120, you could probably do it. Okay. But it's so much more realistic to do it how me and my partner did and do the grind. And yeah, we started with next to nothing, but if we had $40,000 at our disposal to work with and snowball our way up, we would have been, a lot better off and a lot more comfortable and able to buy things and get started. And again, that's not you with taking any salary. Maybe again, you work a second job or, do it on the part-time for a little while until you get your feet under you. But, you could do a lot real quick with $40,000 just to invest in and try to flip into some good stuff, and then get your money back out of it and keep growing. But you're going to learn real fast whether or not you want to grind that hard and how fast you want to grind. That's just, again, if you want to put your 8 hours in on it, maybe you should start with maybe 60,000, maybe 75,000. Maybe you want to get a little more comfortable. But yeah, you can't just walk up to a bank and get $200,000 anymore. You just can't. They just don't give out those loans. It's impossible. It's literally impossible. I have impeccable credit. My business partner has, he's okay. Not great credit, but they wouldn't give me a $30,000 loan, let alone, something to start, an actual business with if I wanted to just walk away from what I was doing at the time. Those loans stopped with the house crash and all that. Those easy free loans. The only way we were able to get a loan at a reasonable price was with the pandemic. I was able to get a PPP loan and apply for that, and to have that federally backed and be able to show and show that, hey, I got employees, I'm paying, I'm providing good to the world and the community and the country and providing jobs. They were like, oh, okay, yeah, you're fine then. Yeah, take this. I think the first one we had was like $60,000 for like 1.2%, something ridiculously low for a 30-year loan. Like, okay, I never would have been able to get a loan like that. Like, no, just without that. So thanks, pandemic. Yeah. I mean, but realistically, that's honestly, that's what it takes to get those types of loans when you don't have, you have to already start with $1 million to have $250,000 to start a business. It's just, that's the way it is now. And it's so hard. So realistically, you're gonna have to grind and start your way online and work your way to an actual physical location. Because it's so hard to have the cash to do it. It's near impossible. And again, the way this release cycle is structured, I'm throwing $30,000 1 week at a distributor. Like, that's a huge chunk of money. Oh yeah. And for you to just be out that money, and what if it's a bad set? What if people don't buy it? What if it crashes in price? The recent Magic set of Boulder Gate, I bought $20,000 worth of that, and I sold maybe $4,000 worth of it in the first weekend. That's bad. That's stuck money. And what if you invest in a line of I don't know, maybe Slinkies are coming back, or you bought a bunch of fidget spinners, and that cools off, and nobody wants fidget spinners anymore, and you're stuck with 10,000 fidget spinners. Things like that can happen. Like it does happen. And these companies have pretty good track records, but Magic makes mistakes. Pokemon puts out bad sets. Games that were relatively stable and active can just lose player base and dry up. Or maybe competition starts and is really aggressive, and then they take your player base away, and then you're stuck with nothing, and you have all these products and you can't sell it. Things like that can happen. So it's scary. It's a scary thing to be underfunded. And unfortunately, I'm going to tell you right now, a vast, vast majority of game stores in this country are underfunded and working month to month, and sometimes weekend to weekend to pay for the next set. It's just, that's the way it is. And sometimes you got to make some deep cuts and offload some things and just free up the capital to buy the next thing that hopefully does better than the last one. So that's just the way it is.
Yeah, just kind of offload. Well, and when Astral Radiance came out, I know I talked to you during there. We were doing a monthly sit down with you and Professor Oak and myself, and I said I had that opportunity for Astral Radiance when it came out, because when it was released, my LGS was worried about because they always gauge how a set's going to perform by pre-release a lot of times.
Sure.
They'll put out the pre-orders and they'll see how many people come to the pre-release tournament. See how many people want to pre-order the product so that they know what there is, and they were concerned that Astral Radiance was just not going to move. So then they contact someone like me, who they once again, because I'm there every weekend and I talk to them and we have a rapport, ask me, hey, I normally buy 4 cases of booster boxes from them. That was just me because I like buying 4 and I'd sell 3 and then I keep 1 back always for my little sealed product investment. So I don't have any costs attributed to what I have here. But that's one of the sets where they were scared and they're like, I don't want this money tied up. I don't know if this is going to sell. Will you take 2 extra boxes? Will you take 2 extra cases of them? Just because I need the and I'm only giving them very minimal amounts, but they found that they could get a little bit better pricing by using a couple of people like me, because they're getting a little bit more quantity discount. And so now they're going to get this much more quantity. How do I get rid of it quickly? So they're just trying not to sit on that money, like you said. They don't want to be sitting on 60 booster boxes of Astral Radiance sitting on the shelf because nobody pre-ordered it, and pre-release tournament was only 10 people versus 50 people or 60 people that they got for Brilliant Stars. Right. Just to gauge it. So,
I mean, to reinforce your point, last year when we got absolutely dumped on with all this product going into the fall, that was what, probably must have been October
beginning,
maybe like September, or like right around this year, when we got just flooded, inundated with this product that Chilling Reign and Battle Styles and Evolving Skies was hitting at the same time, so we had a little bit of backlog in, and Celebrations was 2 weeks down the road that we had to go pay for, and we got hit for $40,000 worth of back product that I never expected to even get.
Yeah.
And it was every distributor. Oh, this is your wave 2 and 3 at the same time. Oh, this is your wave 2 and 3 of this at the same time. This is your wave 2 and 3 of this at the same time. At the time, you're standing there like, perfect. I've never had this much product. I've never had this many booster boxes, ETBs this whole year.
At once. Yep.
But then you got it all at once. And everybody had it all at once. So nobody could move anything. And again, going into the holidays, going to celebrations, going into the busiest time of the year where you need to be well stocked for sure, but still have enough capital to buy things back up and things that are selling well, and being able to make those little extra orders from distribution or whatever you need to buy. It was a bad time. It was a bad time for a lot of stores. And we saw going into November, December, Black Friday, these people absolutely losing $30, $40 a booster box, dumping these on Amazon, eBay, anybody that can sell on. They were getting rid of them because was too much. It was too much capital tied up, and you were literally drowning with product. And the capital tied up at the time, it was too much. It was too much for all the stores. All the stores were suffering, and all the stores had too much product and couldn't get rid of it. And yes, it was still selling. It was still, people were still coming in and buying it. It was still good. But when you put that much condensed, so focused into 2 weeks with a release around the corner, Magic doing its thing, and Yu-Gi-Oh! And all that, it's just a lot of things, a lot of pressure all at once on the system. And it really, the Fusion Strike. Fusion Strike was right there too.
I was gonna say it was a month behind Celebration. Yeah, not even 3 weeks.
And then we got dumped with that stuff. So you're like, oh, it's gonna come in 2 waves. Oh wait, no, it's not. Here it all at the same time.
Yep.
It was. So stressful.
I just remember that was the opportunity because I had talked to my LGS,
absolutely,
up the road about doing this, and
perfect chance for people that wanted to pick up some cheap stuff. I mean, absolutely, and yeah, I bet they were, Andy. They were. Here, take all this stuff, please.
What do
you
want?
All this.
Here, take. Absolutely. And that's what I said. I had talked to them prior to that, and of course, none of them wanted to do anything. Up until that point, they were just like, no, you can buy it at regular prices. Oh, no, you can buy it at regular prices. Yeah. And I said, all right, if you need me, I gave my cell phone number, and I said, if you ever need a dump product, give me a call. And when that happened, like 2 days before Celebrations came out, I had that LGS call, the owner calling me, John, was just like, dude, what do you have? What can you, can you take these boxes for this price? If you can take them, you can have as many as you want of each one of these sets right now. And that's how I got 6 cases of Evolving Skies, 6 of Fusion Strike, or, Chilling Rain, Battle Styles. I got all of these boxes at literally his cost. Yeah, and it was just simply because he needed the capital. He couldn't go with, and he's like, I got Celebrations and Fusion Strike here in a week. I'm going to get just completely blasted. So
yeah. I totally forgot about Fusion Strike too, right there too. I was just like, man, this is just insane. And so much just capital tied up. It's like, we've been starving the whole rest of the year. And then all at once, it's too much of a good thing.
The dump truck came over and dumped all your food at once.
And like you said, perfect opportunity for people that were wanting to pick up some stuff really, really cheap. Just, anybody that wanted to come up and buy anything. Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about it.
And I never even wanted, at the time I told him I would even pay, $5-10 over booster box cost, but I would get a certain amount and I wouldn't take the big sets because we all know Brilliant Stars came out and it was gone really quickly. So, I mean, I knew that those ones, but I knew that some of the slower sets, but after that, he was just like, I'll give it to you at cost. What I paid for it, if you'll pay for the box and the shipping, and it's here for a couple days and it's gone, I get that capital back. I can pay the rest of my bills. Do it.
Yeah, I mean that. And again, big, small, everybody was hurting. Everybody got hit at the same time because we all put in those big numbers and expected. Oh, at that point, I never expected Battle Styles again. That set came out a year ago. What am I? Why would I get Battle Styles right now? Or the beginning of the year? Why would I get Battle Styles? Yep. I'm still sitting on those ETBs. I'm down to 150. I'm down to 150.
You chewed through them pretty good.
We're working our way down. I worked out a couple deals here recently, but yeah, we're doing okay. We're getting through them.
Are you concerned about that happening here this fall with the holiday season coming up?
Just Andy, I hadn't thought about it. I didn't even think about that. Why you got to do that to me? No,
I got to give you a heart attack.
I do need more product right now. That'd be awesome. I would love it. But the thing about that time, again, you got to remember, all these stores are on the hook for that stuff. We said we would take it.
Yep.
I have the right to refuse whatever's coming down the pipes now. I don't need. I can't. But they were like, no. You said you were going to take these.
Yep.
Because they were hurting too. They probably had to spend $500,000, $1 million on all that stuff too. So they were hurting too. So they had to get rid of it. Yeah. It works both ways. Yeah. Absolutely.
And I know my John over here will tell me right out. He said if I refuse stuff, they penalize me. The distributors, or they can. He said if they're
right now is, again, we're seeing all these things hit when we had to be a year, half a year in the past when things were booming. Yep. We're like, yeah, I'll take that many. Yeah, I'll take that many Cleavor boxes. Yeah, absolutely. I'm still sitting on cleaver boxes and sitting here because nobody wants them. But that's the way it is. I mean, that's how a lot of product is. But I definitely would have not have bought as much if they were released, now, and what I know now.
Yep, definitely. And like I said, I know that's a tough part about being an LGS is that you order a ton of product and Pokemon can push it back a couple weeks. Magic can push it back and move the dates too.
Here you go.
And changes everything. You asked for it, but yeah, we're 2 weeks behind. But here, you take it. You deal with our tardiness on this. Now your 2 sets are released right on top of each other, and the Magic and Pokemon would have been 2 weeks apart. All of a sudden, Lost Origins got pushed back week or 2 from the original.
Yeah, it was supposed to come out
August 28th, I thought.
2 weeks, I think.
Yeah, so it got pushed 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So if you were planning on having Pokemon here and Magic here, all of a sudden they're both on top of each other. That's a lot of cost.
Yeah, like I said, with Dominaria United pre-release was this weekend. I had Pokemon pre-release last weekend, and I could have done it this weekend too, but I had Magic, so I couldn't do that. And now they're both releasing next week. So
so you're sitting in that scenario.
I got all this product from Lost Origin and Dominaria United at the same time. And it hurts when you that'll be fine. I'll take that many. We'll work it out. And then oh wait.
Yeah. Oops, I didn't realize they were both coming the same week.
Mm-hmm.
So next question I got for you, Mason.
Yes. What
is one mistake you made that you could advise others to avoid when starting an LGS, LCS?
When I saw this question, I was thinking, man, just one? You just want one?
You can go more than that.
No. Something that is particularly poignant to me right now is not just, I don't want to say overextending, because there's definitely a lot of people that did overextend and maybe did a lot more than they should have this past 2 years with crazy pricing and just, again, a traditionally poor business or not cash heavy business all of a sudden getting all this tons of cash flow. Well, shoot, let's go buy that. Let's go buy that brand new giant Taskmaster van, and let's go get a warehouse, and let's go sit up in our offices and hang out all day. Should never have done that. How awesome would it have been to just be sitting on that money, or take it out at the end of the year and have that in my pocket for all the the hard work, the years I've worked off and tried to build this business. Finally got lucky, and then I wasted it. It's gone. I'm paying rent, paying bills with it, instead of reaping the benefits of what I worked so hard to do. That's the whole point of, that's why we're here, right?
Yeah.
Is to work and then be rewarded. And that is definitely, you make so many decisions, and you learn as you go, and you don't know what 1 week is going to bring. You don't know forget about the next month. I mean, I'm worried about next week. I'm not even thinking about next month yet. Like we gotta get through this weekend. So there's a lot of that. And then a lot of that is just the complexities of having so many, like I have, managers and people I talk to, and we discuss things, and, a partner that some people may not have and be able to make decisions or be indecisive with. So there's our own complications that we put into that plus. But I think, making sure that when you want to keep investing in the business and growing the business, and, you're hoping that everything is stacking up. But again, trying not to be so aggressive to get rid of it. And, you want to, at the whole point of at the end of the year with taxes, you want that not to make money, not to really lose money. You want to be at zero, the closest you can to being a zero.
Yep.
That's ideal. And if you can maybe make a big purchase and make it be in the negative just for a little while, that's okay too. But I can't help but think like, okay, if I had just paid the taxes on that money and not spent it and still gotten that percentage, would I still be better off now instead of being stuck in a lease or, for the next 3 years or, maybe been a little more decisive on spending it on maybe displays and working and upgrading the place that we have, or before we open up a second location, maybe, or something like that, and all those decisions are going to play a part in you running a business. And there is no correct answer. Like, there's no obvious answer at the time. There's all these little things that you can do, this or that, or this, or another thing, or another thing. And it's complicated. And a lot of people, I don't have a business degree. I sucked at math. I struggled through algebra. What am I doing running a $1 million business? I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but you learn as you go, and you're going to make mistakes. And I guess that's one thing that, you try to avoid, but is also can provide perspective and give you, better learning and understanding, and is making those mistakes. And yeah, now I get to try to work my way out of this lease that I got myself in, and how do leases work? And instead of Googling that, I'm going to and paying somebody several $100s an hour to tell me how it works. But things like that you want to keep growing your business, but be reasonable about it. And if you're doing well, take a moment to really evaluate not just what's going to help me and be good for me next month. I'd really love to have all these nice things or whatever. Make sure that in 2 years that was a good purchase and a good investment. That was a good use of that money.
Yeah.
And if you could have maybe, instead of buying a brand new van, why didn't you buy a used one, Mason? Oh, well, that's, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, plus they didn't exist, at the time, used vehicles, especially work vehicles, didn't exist. Anyways, that's beside the point. Point is, you're going to learn as you go, and you're going to make mistakes. But try to make as few mistakes as possible with money, especially when you're doing well and you're profitable. I would have probably much been better off maybe, taking care of my employees, or, giving and providing for them, and doing something, raising their salaries or raising my own salary. What a novel concept of actually paying yourself a decent amount. Things like that, you really just got to focus on long-term plans and growth, and, and realize that things may not be great all the time, and they could get worse, so just trying to be prepared for that, I guess. How's that? Is that okay? How's that?
Oh yeah, perfect. One thing I will add to that is that that's a concept that the whole tax thing really comes down to my father's generation, and that's my father owning a business. Hit zero with your taxes. Make $1 this year. That's your goal. And it's like, I understand the concept, but like you said, the last 2 years now, we've actually kept money behind and paid the taxes on it, rather than buying inventory that we may need next year, because you're buying inventory, you're making a guess. It's strictly a guess. So we buy, a ton of ductwork. Well, now that size isn't used anymore. Now I'm sitting on a mountain of ductwork that, I bought it. I didn't pay tax on, pay Uncle Sam. But now it's sitting there for 2-3 years because I can't use it.
Right.
The last 2 years, we've started to pay taxes. We're not aiming for $1 or $1.00 at the end of the year.
Right.
And I will say, as a business, that's been a tremendous help, especially as an established business, to be able to have that free capital for, like you said, I got to get an employee in here and I need to do something. Well, I got my cash here. I can offer a bonus now. You want to come work for me right now? I'll give you $1,500 in 90 days if you sign and work for me for 2 years. Yeah. You can do these things because now we've got a coffer built up on the side. Oh, the transmission went out on one of our service trucks. Well, go take it to the shop. I'm not trying to figure out how many jobs I got to quick do in work, overnight someplace to try and pay for that transmission because
Yeah.
we burnt all of our money just so we didn't have to pay the taxes.
Yeah. And, I guess that's like the main crux of it is that you get so used to just using up all your resources and expending everything that you have, maxing out all your cards, like making that bank account zero because you're hoping to flip that money and make more.
Yep.
It's okay to take a moment and be like, you know what? Keeping that credit card open, probably a good idea, just in case.
Yep.
Just maybe.
I might want
and being comfortable and being again, when you're established and you're stable and you're doing good,
mm-hmm.
you don't have to keep pouring the coal on if you're already at the speed limit.
Yep. Once you're there, just put it on cruise and go.
Yeah. Sometimes that's okay. Sometimes just cruising is okay.
If you're comfortable, I had a person ask me that's newer in HVAC. He started about 4 years ago, and he said, "How do you get to the point where you guys are at, where we just kind of go?" And I said, "At some point, you just have to realize where your limit is, and when you hit it, don't try and push past it, because if you do, you'll burn yourself out. You'll cause a lot of issues. You'll have a lot of problems that'll come in the long run and have issues. So why continue to do that to yourself or to the business and potentially risk things?" Yep. So, next question I have for you, Mason.
Yes.
Number one most important thing if you are considering opening a store.
Yes.
And I've got kind of examples: community, networking.
Whatever. All those things are, of course, very important, very good, important. Probably the number one thing is knowing that all those things are great and you want to worry about all those things, but you're the guy that's going to have to be responsible for all these things and take care of stuff and work these hours. And it's fun and it's enjoyable, and I get a huge kick out of seeing people open cards and get cool stuff and buy something that they've maybe needed for a long time, or needed that one extra thing for their collection, or the last thing that they needed and I had it. That's awesome. It's an awesome feeling, and I do feel like you're providing a service. But that's the type of mindset you better be having, is that you are still, at the end of the day, you are serving these people, and you're not you're not going to be wearing a suit and tie and getting to sit up in a corner office somewhere and have this all happen for you. That may come eventually, maybe later, maybe much later. Yeah. But that's the major thing, is making sure that you're okay and you're willing to not just do what it takes, but potentially more than what it takes, even in your own mind, to make this work. I've seen a lot of people that have talked to me and came to me and asked me questions and opened a store, or started a business, and 6 months, 3 months later, you know what, that wasn't for me. I was like, okay, that's cool, but you're stuck in a lease and you sign on, and you paid $10,000 for a brand new sign that you just slapped up there, and you have all this inventory that you're just now figuring out that you didn't want to do this. Like, that's why it's all the more important to make sure that try it out, try it online, flipping, doing whatever. Make sure it's something that you're genuinely interested in. You're going to stay happy doing it, and that opening a store isn't the end. That shouldn't be the goal. The goal is to be having a store for 20 years, for 25 years, however long you want to have a business. That should be the goal. Because opening the store is just the start. It's got to be a long-term commitment, and that's the major thing that I think is the biggest mental obstacle that you need to be and be ready to take on for yourself. That's the number one.
I would 100% agree with that. It's you have to be committed and ready for the long haul if you're going to jump into doing any kind of business. Yeah. I mean, especially when you're putting it to your full time, this is what you're doing. Or if you're even going to the point where you're, in my opinion, starting to spend over 15 to 20 hours a day doing this, even if it's a side thing. It's a commitment at this point. You need to realize that you're going to be putting a lot of time and a lot of free hours into this. And like you said, even for myself, you sit there and we talk to our accountant, and we have, of course, we're working with secessionists now because my father's leaving the business. Oh, okay. And he's retiring. I mean, he's 66 years old. And he's to the point where he's ready to just barely do anything and transferring everything over now completely. And
sure.
That's what we said. You're sitting there, and they said, well, the biggest thing is like our secessionist does. Where do you want to be in 20 years? Always have a 5-year goal, set out what you're doing.
Yeah.
But always think of that long-term goal of what do I want to be in 20, 25 years? What does your business want to look like at that point? And make it realistic, but continue to have something to work for, and then reevaluate that every 5 years.
Right.
Are you on track to do that, or do you want to change that goal? Do you want to set it differently?
I'll add on to that. You can be a part of this and do very similar things like I'm doing, and you don't have to do this full time. You can absolutely just have this nice side hustle. Maybe you have, you work a regular job, and you just come home and while you're watching TV, you're having dinner, whatever, whatever, put a little time in, a couple hours a night or over the weekend or something like that. And you can make and do very well for yourself, just not having to have a physical aspect with all the bills and the commitment and the money tied up and all these things. Everything is going online. You can buy anything online, and with TCG Player being as robust as it is now, with the direct program basically being where you can have a massive inventory in such a small space, and you don't have to ship anything, and they do it all for you. Just ship it to them. Yeah, they take a huge percentage, but if you're working at home, what do you care? It's all extra money.
Exactly.
Anything out of these things, and for your time, if you're just sitting around watching TV, sorting cards, make a little extra money. Then you can be okay with that. And you don't have to have a store and run all this stuff and do all these grandiose things. Trust me, it's not grandiose. It's not glamorous. No. It's a job. It's work. But that's the thing. It's like, be okay with just doing that as a side hobby and making a little extra money and thriving when the market's good and putting things away if you want to for a little, if you have the income to do so. That's a completely valid and a good thing to be doing for yourself as well. You don't have to go all the way.
I can tell anybody watching this still at this point in the video, I can touch my walls here, and if I turn the other way here, that's how small of a space you need to have a fairly decent running Pokemon business. And I do this 2 to 3 hours a night, and usually when I'm sorting cards or trying to find valuable playable cards, or if I'm building my own deck, I turn YouTube up on my screen and I just sit here and kind of go after it.
Right.
And that's
unwind and relax. And if you can make money doing that, like what more do you need, really?
It's in my own house. I'm already paying the mortgage anyways if I'm not doing this or not. So it's just free space.
Absolutely.
Anybody that's at this point, to me, you could do this. That's the beauty of this hobby, is that, and that was the point of this series, is just you can do this in so many different ways. You can go all the way to being a store owner, to a person in your grandma's basement just chilling here sorting cards. And there's a niche in this market for all of it.
100%. Absolutely. Yep.
So, moving on to the last kind of, I'm going to put these kind of into one question because I already sent these ones to you also, which is, do you think that there is room in this hobby for more at-home businesses or LGSs, LCSs?
Oh, what a topic. It's almost like we were just talking about that. But yes, absolutely there is. In fact, I think there is maybe even underutilization of that. Just think of like the price for bulk right now. I'm actually going to do a video about this, but that's not related. You can buy bulk. There's no competition for bulk right now. It's out there. Plenty of bulk out there to be had. And if you want to go and buy bulk off of people on Facebook or whatever locally and just sit in your house and just, this is a 50-cent card. This is a quarter card. You don't care. You pay $2 per thousand or whatever it is, whatever you pay. Fractions of pennies for cards at that point. You're doing great. Getting a quarter or 50 cents for a card. And again, if you do something like direct, or even if you ship a playset or something like that for $2 and with $1 shipping or whatever, that's your $1,000 cards that you just paid for out of a playset of good cards. You can absolutely do this from your home. In fact, there's probably a hole there that, especially with bulk, the opportunity is there where you can do great with just not, you don't have to be flipping, PSA 10, anything, just grinding away at playable stuff and putting it out there and in play sets and doing card lots and things like that. That's still, bulk is down, but the market still is there for that. There's plenty of people that are out there that say, I don't want to pay $120 for a booster box. I don't want to pay $4 for a booster pack. I want to buy my kid this $40 thing for 1,000 cards on eBay or Amazon, and they don't care. They can't tell the difference. Sure, I'll pay $40 for that. You just paid $40 off of 1,000 cards that you paid $2 on.
Yep. What kind
makes sense to me? Like, that's great. So absolutely, there's opportunity, and there's plenty of opportunity out there for that.
I mean, I'm doing the same thing. If I go and buy a lot, it's the first thing, and I've said that on my videos. First thing I do is I go for someone that's got a collection. And when I'm going for the collection, I'll ask them right there, do you have any bulk?
Yeah.
And half of the time, if you ask them if you're buying a collection, they'll just give it to you.
Yeah.
Or if anything, they'll be like, oh yeah, I got a bunch of these ETBs full of bulk. How much, $1 a piece.
Sure.
And then I'll go back and I'll go through it and find the playable cards that are going for 25 cents, 50 cents, $1. And each one of those will have, like you said, $25, $30 worth of them cards inside of it that they didn't even realize, because most people in the market focus on the flashy, glittery, holofoiled cards, but they're not actually looking at the full picture of the TCG, which is the playability of it. And there are people that are trying to build decks, modify their decks, and use these cards, and they'll pay for those cards in order to get them.
Yeah. And it is work, and it's not fantastic money, but if it's an option, it's viable, and right now there's an opportunity for it because bulk is so cheap. So it's completely viable thing that anybody can do. It just takes time and a little bit of effort and knowing what you're looking for. Yep. And that's what I'm doing. Me, I own 2 stores. I'm going through bulk boxes and picking out the 50-cent and $1 and $2 cards and putting them on TCG Player. Mm-hmm. Me, I'm doing that because I have the knowledge for it, and that's all it takes. Yep. You can do the same thing as me and not have all this overhead. Imagine you do it at home. I could be doing this at home, and I don't have to do anything. That'd be great. So
it's true. I mean, it really is, and it, like you said, it's a grind. If you're gonna do it, it's a grind, but the grind can be rewarding and fulfilling for doing it, and you can do it in your basement.
Yeah. And even if you go out and buy collections, or if you want to, buy collections and flip slab, send them under grading, and absolutely, it's still viable. Absolutely, there's a lot of competition out there. It's still, in certain areas, it's pretty competitive. But if you source locally and have people around you that you buy from, or a collection, or maybe a Facebook page or something you can operate and talk to people on, and maybe work out some trades and trade your way into certain things. Yeah, it's there's plenty of opportunity out there for you to do at home in your spare time, and it's saving a whole lot of headache and all the HR and taxes and all that, big corporation stuff. You don't have to do all that. Just sit at home and do it while you're watching Netflix. Absolutely,
exactly,
100%.
Just chill out, and like I said, if you're buying the collections, don't forget the bulk. There's a viability there that, it doesn't look like much, but
it sucks. It sucks.
It sucks. But, I hate getting them all down to just sets, opening up TCG Player, looking at the top cards in the set, and just literally going through it and picking out the ones that meet.
Like I'm surrounded by card savers and top loaders and penny sleeves and just mountains of bulk and doing these rip and ships and things. Like I'm keeping all the bulks and the codes, and that's not a lot of money, but I can sell them. I'm making a couple dollars on keeping the bulk from these rips and ships that people don't want anyways. Yep. So win-win.
Yep, exactly. So, we're down to the final question. Finally, Mason. It's been a bit of journey, but we're here. Yeah, so it's going to be the number 11 question of the night. Knowing what you do now, would you still open your store if given a redo?
Absolutely. Yes. I would know so much more. I'd be not making the great, as many mistakes if I could go back and just hit the redo. And even if I went in blindly, I would maybe if I just didn't start now, I didn't start then, but I was starting now. Sure. Because I still enjoy it. I still have fun. I still play. I just got done playing Pokemon tonight and hanging out with people, and I'm still engaged. I'm having fun. I'm enjoying it. Yeah. Just that aspect alone, that I'm able to do that and still have the free time. And well, I say free time, but be able to steal away some time and get in a couple games as well while I'm doing it. Absolutely. Like, yes. It's not great work. I'm not going to be a millionaire. I've already reserved myself to that. And yeah, I'll probably be working for and doing this the rest of my life. But that's not so bad. That's okay. No. It's a living, but it's enjoyable and it's something I am interested in and I enjoy talking about. So, and I have people like you, Andy, that I can talk to and have fun with and bounce things off. So that's part of it too that I really enjoy too. So absolutely, I'd still do it.
This is probably the number one thing that I like most about the hobby is that 95% of the people that I know, or you can do YouTube channels that own stores, LGSs that are just every normal day people that aren't even on videos. If you like TCGs and you want to learn about it, you could pretty much contact any of us or anybody in this hobby, and we are willing to talk. And we will talk your ear off if given the opportunity about what we know. It's not like we keep our knowledge hidden. We love to just say it, and we love to show you.
And if you ever reached out to somebody or went to an LGS and you asked them a question and they acted like they didn't want to answer you, that's somebody that's miserable. That's somebody that doesn't like their job.
Doesn't want to do
and
it.
Regrets opening a business.
Yep.
If I can walk up and see a kid walk in and they hand me a bunch of cards, like, oh, well, okay. I instantly have something to talk to them about because I know we have something in common automatically. I'm like, okay, cool. What do you got here? Oh, this is cool. What's your favorite Pokemon? I can ask them a million questions that I automatically would not have anything to talk about this little kid about before. But, and people that come in and look at cards and looking at buying a pack or something, I could ask them questions and have a genuine conversation outside of just the robotic, just thank you, have a good day. How can I help you? Things like that. I can actually interact with people and it's enjoyable. And I get to be interviewed by people that want to talk to me and have the same interest too. That's cool too.
I just had one the other day. It was a lot of fun. I was actually at this guy does baseball cards and just kind of an overall, collector type store. It wasn't really a Pokemon store, but he sells Pokemon packs. You must buy them, and he overpriced sells them, which is, that's his business, but that's fine. It is what it is.
Sells them, okay, sure.
He sells them. He sells a lot of PSA cards and things like that. And he had the packs, and he had Evolving Skies. And while I was there, a 5-year-old kid with his mom pulled a Moonbreon.
Wow!
Right there in front of me, and I was just like, oh, I'm just like, wow. And the kid's just like, the mom knew nothing about it, and she's just like, well, okay, go ahead and put it in your pocket. We'll take it home. I'm like, whoa. So here I am pulling. Here, I got sleeves. At least put this in, because of course here I am, the typical, weirdo carrying sleeves and card savers in my pocket. Yeah, here.
Okay.
No, wait.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even do that, Andy. I mean, you got me up on that. Really. I mean,
well, my wife had the card savers in her purse, so I didn't have the card savers in my pocket.
That's fair.
But I keep a couple sleeves, the penny sleeves in my wallet, just because it's like, never know when I'm gonna do something stupid and open something when I shouldn't. But she had card savers, and I pulled out a penny sleeve. I'm like, here, call my wife. Hey, can you give me one of the card savers? Yeah. That's why. What'd you get? I'm like, nothing. The kid got a little. I told the mom. I said, you better watch that card, because I said I gave it to her, and I said, I know it's your kid's, but you should probably hold on to this, because I'm gonna tell you right now, the card's about $300 raw right now, so you might want to, protect this a little bit more, and maybe go home and do a little bit of research on that before you throw it around or beat it up.
Same story or similar story, I guess. Kid brought in a collection, typical, like, 9-pocket binder full of the, the D-ring binder with things.
Yep.
And it was pretty rough. Some of them, he had a couple of the fake Etsy, like, metal etched cards and, stuff like that, just the traditional, just kid collection. But he had the Latios and Latias alt art in there, just randomly. I'm like, please be in decent shape. And of course, it had some nicks on it, but it was probably moderate. It was not terrible compared to the other things that were bent in half and stuff like that. It was actually pretty decent. So I was like, they were trading it in. They wanted to get maybe a game for an Xbox game or something like that. I was like, well, what are you hoping to get? And I was like, well, if I got enough for these, and there's like $35 worth of games. Like, yeah, I think you're gonna be okay because you got this one card, and I'm gonna give you $200 for everything. And he's just like, wow, geez, that's way more than what I thought. It's like, well, that's So that's a cool aspect of it too. Is is getting having people that are, when they pull things, that it's cool, and people that bring stuff in, and this is my old collection. I don't know what's in it. They have like a Mew Gold Star or something silly in there, and it's just like, this is a very expensive card, and you just make their day. Like, it's cool. That's a cool aspect of it too. So
yeah, and I've been seeing that a lot too, because I have my Facebook post up, and then of course my Craigslist post, just like you said. I buy Pokemon cards, and here I am in the middle of nowhere. So people, of course, around me like to contact me, and it's the same thing. They bring you collections, and Dan and I kind of talked about that. One thing I don't do is someone will send me a picture of their collection and say, what is this worth? It's like, well, why don't you give me a dollar amount for what you want for it, and I'll tell you if you're high or low. I'm not going to sit here and be TCG player and go through and get all these numbers together and send you the value of this, because then you're going to take that value and call the next guy and go, hey, will you take $450 instead of $400 for this? I'm not going to be your TCG player, but if you have a collection and you tell me it's way low, I'm not going to be a jerk. I will tell you, hey, this card right here alone is worth this much money, and I'll pay it. I'll pay you the difference on that, but there's a limit. I don't want to spend all my time pricing out a whole collection for them to just walk away to get $50 more or $20 more from the next person. But definitely, most people in this hobby, I would say, be honest enough to say, hey, I'll pay you $400 for this part of the collection, but you got this one card here that's worth $300, and I'll buy it from you, but it's part of this, so I'd give you $700 for everything, because you do have this very expensive card in here. Or if you want to take the card, it would suck, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not gonna sit here and rip you off, and then you'll see me posting this on TCG Player for $300 in a week.
Right. And and again, being a physical location, a store that sells other things, that kid is immediately, I want to go there, because they took, they remember, and they still has store credit, honestly, so he can come back and get some more stuff. So, and that gets them in, and they buy some other stuff. So that's
they just keep coming back.
Long term, again, smaller store with community customers and repeat customers. That's what you're going for. So that's important to do that kind of stuff.
So, well, Mason, that's all that I've got for questions. Of course, we've just got a little bit of free chat here. If you've got anything that you'd like to bring up or talk about yet, we've still got a little bit of time if you're interested.
I got a little while. It is up a little bit late, but absolutely, I appreciate you having me on, Andy. I think this is an awesome idea for a series, and I'm really excited to see the whole totality of it. I think I did, we did pretty okay. I thought we had some good points, so I appreciate you, like I said, having me on. Of all the people asking me, it makes me feel good, so I appreciate that so much.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, like I said, told you, I think before the video, that next person that's going to be coming up here that I have scheduled is going to be Retro Spec. He'll be coming on here to join us to talk about graded cards. Will be the next venture that we're going into. Once again, just continuing the series to kind of hit all these little niches and all these small areas to try and give good perspectives to people. So overall, that's the goal of the series, is to just give everybody an opening to be able to see the different aspects from people they see on YouTube, people that they see, because like I said, you could get my background if you watched all 175 of my videos, and you'd probably get pretty good knowledge by doing so, but this helps condense that down into one video and maybe gives you a head start or a direction on where to go. So
yeah, I mean, somebody like Retro, I love Nick. He's a great dude.
Mhm.
He's about the business aspect of it, and he's he's really good at what he does. And I learn stuff from him. I own a business and I do okay for myself, and pretty well established. And but grading things and that type of buying raw, flipping, that kind of aspect of things, and making plays like that, completely new to me. Something that traditionally game stores don't do is dealing with grade cards, or even submitting cards to grade and things like that. And it's just like, you look at things and what things have done, and it's like, man, how many absolutely near mint Moomeruns have I sold that I could have just sent off to PSA and made twice the amount of money?
Yeah.
And it's, there's always stuff to learn. There's always things that you can do. That's the great thing about the hobby, is that it's so vast. We're not all trying to do the same thing and compete against each other. We're not. We're filling our different niches and stuff, and we're learning from each other. That's the whole idea too. So it's important too, and that's the strength of the series, is that it's everybody can learn, even me and you and everybody, anybody that can take something away from this, for sure.
Try and learn something new every day if you can. There's always something that you can find that you don't know.
If I just learn one thing, it's a bad day. Like I'm learning hundreds of things all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, Mason, like I said, thank you very much for joining me today. Of course, great answers. Thank you for taking time to answer the questions. Of course, once again, love having you on the channel as always and having these conversations. So, you got any other last words to say before we wrap it up here?
No, but just again, thank you, and Andy, you're one of my favorite people to talk to and just talk shop on. We're kind of similar kind of vibe, but and got a lot in common, so I appreciate that, and I enjoy all your content. And like and subscribe for the video, guys, if you're not already. Geez, learning so much and pouring my heart out here. No, take care of Andy, and appreciate all of you guys taking the time to think I'm important enough to listen to. It's awesome. I appreciate it.
Well, like I said, thank you, Mason, for joining us. Once again, Mason's information will be below in the description for you guys, so that you guys can, of course, check out Mason's channel. Of course, check out his series on his LGS stores, and that way you guys can learn some more from him if you're interested in going in this avenue. And other than that, we will see you next time here on Northwoods TCG.